الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم وصل عليه. Continuing on from the topic last week, just within a very short space of time, our focus, amongst many other things, our focus should be on our young generation, on our children, on our nephews and nieces, on our grandchildren, and not just children of our own family, but all of the Muslim children. And I was mentioning last week that the pressures that our youngsters face, the societal pressure they face when they go to schools, starting from mainly from high school and then college and university, and how we can counter that. How can we ensure that they guard their honor and respect, and they remain respectful and decent, and they become the embodiment of haya. And haya is a very wide topic, very wide concept. In essence, it means to be a decent individual to the core, and to lower your gaze, to guard your honor, whether you are a young boy or a girl, a young man or a young woman, to guard your honor. And the Quran addresses Muslim men and Muslim women, that when you are walking in a particular place where you are likely to come across a ghair mahram, someone who is not related to you as a close relative, and they are from the opposite gender, you must lower your gaze. And that is applicable to men as well, and more so to women, but equally, because this is a way of guarding and protecting our haya. And Hadith Tayyiba, I mentioned last week, our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our noble master and leader, he states that Iman, faith, has 70 large branches, and one of the large branches of Iman is haya, is decency, is being a person who guards and protects his eyes and his entire body and protects their honor. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Ala la iman liman la haya ala." He said, be aware that the one who does not have haya, decency, does not have iman. So it is a sign of iman. Whether you are in a gathering, whether you are in a public place, whether you are with friends, or whether you are on your own, this concept must be adhered to. And this is a very important concept. If we can embed this into our youngsters, how important it is. And this is a sign of a believer, sign of a mu'min. He is modest, and he is very respectful, and he guards his eyes, he guards his heart and mind. Because through the eyes you see the visions, and that corrupts your mind. So to keep your heart and mind purified, it is important that we refrain from the sins of the eyes. So as I mentioned last week, how do we protect our children? How do we counter this? One of the ways Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned is salah. Inna salata tanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkar. And I just want to very briefly mention that we live in this society, and society has its freedoms, and sometimes those freedoms contradict with Islamic ideology and Islamic teachings. One of these freedoms, which has been lobbied and implemented and pushed, and you see it up until recently, and it may unfortunately continue, you see it pushed in the media, this agenda of a man marrying a man and a woman marrying a woman. If you read the Holy Quran, many times, whereas other nations have been mentioned, the nation of Lut alayhi salam has been mentioned, Qawm Lut. And this has not been mentioned once, it has been mentioned multiple of times. This is haram in Islam. This is haram in Islam, having a relationship of any kind of that nature with a man having a relationship with a man, and the same applies for a woman. It's haram. And our youngsters, from the very young age of primary school now, have been taught and are being taught that there may be families where they have two mums and two dads, and very indirectly and very softly and in a subtle manner, this has been implemented into the minds of our youngsters, primary school children. And when they go to high school, that even mounts further. And you cannot say anything openly against it, because if you say so, you will be deemed as intolerant and disrespectful. And there is a lot of lobbying going on at every level. In all forms, this is being encouraged and pushed forward. But we must tell our children from a very young age what is halal and what is haram, what is right and what is wrong. And we must address this at a very early age. Some of our brothers and sisters have tried to stop this from being taught in schools, and we should try that at the first and foremost level. That is our obligation, to say to the teachers that this is contradictory to the Islamic teachings, and therefore can we have our children excluded from such lessons. If not, then you must tell your children, and in any event, you must tell your children what is right and what is wrong, what is halal and what is haram, and be clear about it from the very young age. And even in their cartoons and films, they see all of these characters, and this is being pushed into their mind. They are being brainwashed. So where these societal freedoms contradict the principles of Islam, we must tell our children what Islam is, what Islam says, and why Islam says this. The ayah of the Holy Quran, Ya ayyuhan nas inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha. Dhakarin wa untha, a man and a woman, male and female. Ya ayyuhan nas inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qaba'ila lita'arafu. And similarly, the first ayah of Surah Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we made you from one male and one female. And then وَبَثَّ فِيهَا رِجَالًا كَثِيرًا وَنِسَاءً. And then your generations grew. So this is a natural way. Islam is a deen of fitrah, a natural religion. And when these boundaries are tampered with, then it tampers the very foundation of our deen. And we must be watchful of this. And we must tell and educate our children. If we neglect this, then the children will grow not knowing what is right and what is wrong. It is a fundamental thing. It is one of those things that we must be very, very careful about. That we live in this society, but we must preserve our Islamic ideology, our Islamic teachings, and the Quran and the Sunnah must prevail. As I said many times, we are British, and we are proud that we are citizens of this country, and we are peaceful citizens. But before we are British, we are Muslim, and it is our obligation as a Muslim that we must teach and protect and guard our next generation. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.